Hey guys, this is Sumner Healey from landinvestor.co, and in this video I'm going to break down the most important hire that you need to make as you grow and scale your land investing business. But first, for those that are new here, thank you so much for checking out this video. We run a business over at landinvestor.co helping folks grow and scale land investing businesses. If you guys are curious about our program, you can take a look at the links down below. Without further ado, let's dive into the video. Once I started hiring in my land investing business, I started to build this idea that the most important hire you could have in this business was a dispositions manager. And a dispositions manager, simply put, is someone who goes and sells your property, right? They're going to act almost like a realtor, although in most cases they don't have a realtor's license. But any inbound lead you get, they're going to call them up, have a conversation, go through the sales pitch, and try to close the deal. And I assumed that this was the most important hire you could make, and I was entirely wrong. You see, for the dispositions managers that we were hiring, we might see a 5x, maybe a 10x return on their salary in terms of revenue that they generated for a company, or gross profit they generated for the company. And I thought that was really good until we started hiring acquisition managers in our business. And overnight, we saw a 23x return on the actual spend in terms of salary and commissions. And I was blown away. I had no idea that the acquisitions manager role is the most important role you could be hiring for in this business. And I spent years refuting that and saying, no. It's about the person that's on the phone selling the property. They do the heavy lifting, they paint the picture, they make the person want to buy the property. What I did not realize is, no. You hire an acquisitions manager. They are the one who goes and secures the deal that's so good at the right price that they're able to go and we can list it and people just want to buy it like that because it's listed right. It's a phenomenal piece of property. And in terms of value that you can get from an acquisitions manager, it's unparalleled. Our acquisitions manager in their first quarter in our business, and this is while they're ramping up, what we've seen is about a 6-month ramp up period until someone's really proficient at acquisitions. They did about $350,000 in pipeline profit to our business in their first quarter. And so what we found is a good acquisitions manager can easily add about $1 million to $1.5 million to your land investing business annually. And that's in terms of pipeline profit. And one of the very interesting things that we've done in our business is we've strictly hired our acquisitions managers overseas. And over time, we've started to build a really comprehensive funnel of where to source super high quality talent. And what we found is mainly in the Philippines, there's been such a presence with the BPO industry over there for decades that there's a whole cohort of folks that are phenomenal at speaking English. They're used to doing telesales. They have great customer service. And so they know the business of customer service and sales intimately. And so we figured out how to go and actually find talent that have had relevant experience in that industry. We've also found a ton of folks that have had a relevant experience working as VAs under big brokerages like Keller Williams or any of those other realty offices. And so some of them will actually come to us and they have relevant real estate experience. And that might be in the form of comping properties or things along those lines. We've never found anyone that's come to us with relevant land investing experience. But what's been incredible about arbitraging this and finding folks overseas is our acquisitions manager on track will make about $44,000 between salary and commissions this year, which is a huge income for someone in the Philippines. It's actually incredible. And so that you build a really good relationship with them because they're set with you for life, right? If they can make that kind of money, it's pretty much a done deal. But on the flip side, if that same employee can go and turn $1 million or $1.5 million in pipeline profit for our business, it's a heck of an arbitrage. It's a heck of a trade-off. And even if you have someone that's US based, that's fine. Their on-track earnings will probably be between $60,000 and $120,000. That's going to be salary as well as commission. But what we found is that you can find incredible talent overseas and train them up and get them fully scaled up in your business in 6 months or less and have them just cranking out deals for you, which is such a revelation because back in the day, every single deal that came through our business, any lead that we got that was a seller, it was blessed by me, right? I had to go through, review the deal, comp the property, say yes or no, then call the seller. I was intimately involved in all of those decisions and I had created a real roadblock in our business. And there's no better feeling than waking up on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, checking your Slack and saying, hey, we've got 4 new contracts signed, we've got 5 new contracts signed. And at first there's a lot of hesitation there because you assume, especially someone that's overseas, there's going to be a language barrier. People in the US are going to be disgruntled. They don't want to talk to someone that's overseas. You might think that they just don't know how to speak the land language, right? There's so many weird little terms and vernacular that we use in the land business, and you just assume they might not be able to pick up on that. Maybe they make bad offers and they don't know how to comp the properties correctly. I've had my bubble burst on all of those points, right? I've realized that I was dead wrong. And what we've set as a policy in our business is any offer that's $50,000 and below, they can make it without my blessing. At this point, I trust their comping abilities. We've got it down to a science in terms of how they comp these properties. In a lot of cases, they're also going to lean on realtor comps as well. Anything over $50,000 for an offer, they will lean on realtors to get their feedback. But to have your team kind of full throttle, no friction from you being involved and having them going out there and having conversations with every seller that comes to the front door, being able to make offers without you being the roadblock, has been an incredible liberation for both me on a mental level, but really for our business in terms of growing our revenue, growing our bottom line. The other thing that we found, and this is almost impossible to scale if you are kind of like the linchpin in the way, is consistent follow-ups with every single seller lead that you get. Right now in our CRM, I think we have about 1,900 seller leads in there. And unfortunately, a lot of those seller leads were not getting adequate follow-up. And what we found is we'll have about 15 touches with a seller lead before we say, you know what? We're going to give up for now. We'll put them on a 6-month drip, then we'll follow up 6 months later. But back in the day, I mean, if we couldn't get someone on the 3rd or 4th touch, we were done. And now it's like we're able to follow up consistently. But you also have someone who's able to have a 45-minute conversation or build rapport for whatever amount of time is needed, where if you're the one doing all of this and you're sending out the mailers and you're polling the markets where you're going to work in and you're talking to the sellers and talking to the buyers, there's just no way to scale that rapport, right? And what we found is this is how the big deals get done. The big deals have a longer sales cycle. There's more rapport that's needed. It's a bigger decision for the sellers to make. And I always wondered, why am I not getting the slam dunk deals? Why am I not getting the big deals? And it was not necessarily a lack of skill on my part, but it was a lack of time allotted to pursuing these bigger deals, because I was not willing to go through the 3-month or 4-month sales cycle to work with that one seller to get the deal that nets us, $250,000 or $300,000. But when you have someone that's on your team and you've scaled up that rapport building and that's their sole focus, it's incredible what can be done within your business just in terms of the number of deals that you can have come through, in terms of like, hey, you know what, back in the day, let's say we got 100 leads, maybe I would convert 5 of them. Now we're converting 10 of those leads to sign contracts, but also the prices that they can lock these deals up. Let's say I was locking deals up at 25 grand on average. My team's locking these deals up at 20 grand on average now, because they're doing one thing at a very high level every single day, and that's talking to sellers. And so what we've done in terms of structuring this is we have an acquisitions manager, then underneath that acquisitions manager sits an intake manager. That intake manager is going to do really all of the prepping of the lead when we get a new inbound lead. So we get a new inbound seller lead, they'll go put it in our CRM, they'll go through and do any of the due diligence that's needed on the property, they'll go pull all of the comps for the property, and they'll break it down in a really, really easy kind of bite-sized format. Price per acre for every sold comp, price per acre for every active listing within a certain vicinity. They'll pull all of the aerial images that are needed, put that into our CRM. Then once our acquisitions manager is ready to call the lead, they just look at that record and they have all the information there, and then they just call from there. And so what I mean by scaling rapport is we've got an acquisitions manager who they just spend their time on the phone every single day, and we're shooting for 2 to 3 hours of talk time with sellers per day. All of the other minutia for prepping those leads, that gets passed off to an intake manager. I could make a whole other video on the importance of separating roles in your business, but this has just been a real revelation for us over the last 1.5 years in terms of changing our mindset. It's less about selling these properties, and it's more about locking up phenomenal deals at phenomenal prices. If you get the right deal at the right price, it'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. I still think a dispositions manager makes sense in this business. We still have one on our team, but the role they play is, I would say, it's inconsequential relative to an acquisitions manager. The amount of value an acquisitions manager can drive is just incredible. In a lot of cases, the dispositions manager is really just there to answer questions for the potential buyer and then walk them through any of like the actual closing process or any additional questions that they have about like the pragmatic side of buying a property, as well as doing follow-ups. So hopefully you guys can feel my excitement for what it means to bring an acquisitions manager into your business. It's a radical pivot, and it's had the biggest ROI. I've never had a property that's made me a 23x return The only thing that I've ever seen return like that on is bringing an acquisitions manager into our land investing business. So one of the things that we're rolling out in 2023 is acquisitionmanager.co. And this is going to be in conjunction with what we're doing over at landinvestor.co. But for the folks that are going through our programs, we are actually going to be placing acquisition managers into their business. We may be offering this to the public as well. Time will tell. We've already placed 2 of them in the last 2 weeks here, and the results have been incredible. So we've built out an entire training program to actually go and train and scale up acquisitions managers. We do all of the recruiting, the sourcing, the training. They go through a 4-week program and they get placed into either our students' businesses, or potentially this is something that will extend out into the world as time goes on. But wanted to make mention of it here just to kind of get a litmus test if any of you folks were interested in that. Again, it might be something that we're just keeping internal for the folks in our program. They will have direct access to it. The 2 that we've already placed in the last 2 weeks, those are for people that are within our program. But if there's enough interest, we may be rolling this out 2023 as a public offering. So hopefully you guys see just the value within bringing an acquisition manager into your business. It is a life-changing decision, whether you hire here in the US or you go overseas. You really can't go wrong. I mean, what we've seen with the overseas is that I would say it's about 80% of what you're going to get here in the US in terms of just overall skill. We're bringing on a US-based acquisition manager in our business in Q1 of 2023. And there definitely is a bit of a disparity just in terms of competency on the phone and just some kind of nuanced stuff that I think does get missed when you have a language barrier. And a lot of the folks that we buy land from, they're just good old boys smack dab in the middle of the US. They definitely can be a little old school, a little set in their ways. And so sometimes to mirror them is a little bit hard if you are overseas and unfamiliar with that style. But the incredible thing is you can get 80% of the value at about 50% of the cost. And so it's still one heck of an arbitrage. And I think if you're just starting out or kind of scaling, to past that 6-figure mark, trying to go to that 7-figure mark, bringing someone on overseas is kind of the natural next step. I think once you're trying to go from low 7 figures to multi 7 figures, or maybe even pushing for 8 figures, having a real workforce here in the US in terms of an acquisitions team starts to make a whole lot more sense. So yeah, that was the video, guys. If you have any questions, drop the comments down below. Give this a thumbs up if you liked it. Give it a thumbs down if you didn't, and be sure to subscribe for all of our upcoming land investing content. See you guys soon.